Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go a story titled, Girlfriend of 4 years I was planning to propose to flushed away her future with me by sleeping with a bunch of guys and partying away her savings. And a shout out to Daryl for sending me this story. And guys, this story is about a guy who's 40 years old. He's telling this story about past events, about this absolute disaster of a girlfriend he had for years. And how, because he was so obsessed with getting married, having children, a family, he allowed so much BS into his life because he was on a timetable and everything, making that his whole goal and purpose and reason for living. They allowed this just train wreck of a gal into his life. And when a guy makes relationships and his girl the center of his universe, you all know what happens. And it is a disaster. And that'll be a very good one to go over. It's a long story, as you can clearly see, as you're going to see. That'll be a very good one to go here to remind you of a lot of things. Why a guy cannot make his purpose in life his girl and relationships, all that. That's feminine energy. And when a guy does that, he's behaving like a woman. It's not going to go well for him. And when a guy lets his pure emotions dictate how he handles things, again, a disaster. And when you have a gal that is repeatedly bringing you drama in your life, on again, off again in the relationship, she drinks a lot, substance abuse, lies, and eventually cheats and all that, because cheating usually is associated, you end it with her and you walk away forever and never look back. You don't keep taking them back. But a guy who's so determined that getting married, having kids and all that, and is on a timetable looking at the clock because he's getting older and allows these things to happen, it's a vicious cycle. So they're very going to go over here, guys, as a example of what not to do, and you're going to hear all these different things that I talk about all the time, so hopefully it can help some of you guys out there not make these mistakes. And the guys, those of you who are watching this that are actually in good relationships, good for you. This will make you have a sigh of relief that you have a good thing going, which is usually because of how you handle things. And here we go with the sirens again. So anyway, guys, grab some popcorn. This is a longer one, but I definitely think you'll learn some things at the end of this story here. He says, I, a 40-year-old male, currently have my ex, a 35-year-old female, completely destroy our relationship while I was working out of town for a few months. This happened a year ago, and I wish I had these stories as a resource while I was going through it. I have just started to use Reddit and been reading the experiences of others here, and I decided to share my story in hopes it will maybe help others. That way some good may come out of this, of the worst times of my life. Well, bro, it's very hard to admit hard times and share that with the world, so you're definitely going to help some people. A little backstory for context to this story, and insight to come of the decisions that I made. When I turned 30 years old, I left a major city in my province, it's like a state if you're an American, because buying just a simple house is over $1 million, and I didn't make nearly enough to afford that. My goal was to move somewhere more rural and buy a house, meet someone, get married, and have a child or two. It was my only dream I had, and I believed I could attain it. I lived out in the bush on my stepdad's property in a rundown trailer, and I bought so I could save money for the first 3 years. Well, your goals in life, gentlemen, as men, should not be woman goals. Woman goals are marriage and kids and family and all that. Okay? Men's goals should be purpose and having goals and stuff like that aren't related to like romance and family and all that. That's already he's got the female mindset. A lot of guys are going to disagree with me on that, but when men start behaving like that, it attracts the wrong type of gals, and it is interpreted often as being feminine. And that it can cause a mess, as many of you are aware. Let her be the one whose big goals are a husband and family and kids and all that, and then you're going to get a feminine woman that way. I had my dog, but the loneliness of living in the middle of nowhere had got to me. Well, a lot of guys nowadays are living with their dog or their cat or cats or dogs, and they're quite happy given the world we're in right now. But I had saved a fair amount of money, so I decided to move into the town. It was nice. I cut my commute down by 40 minutes, and I started to make a few friends. I no longer felt so isolated. It was through my friends I met my future ex. Let's call her Callie. She had a long-term boyfriend when we first met. The relationship ended a couple years after meeting her, and we started dating a few months after. That is a terrible idea. You're the rebound guy. What do you expect's going to happen, dude? But because relationships and getting married and all that is so important to him, that's when common sense goes right out the door. This is what I'm talking about, aside from the fact that men should focus on actual goals and achievements in life, not related to relationships. We mostly had a great relationship for the next 4 years. Well, so you thought. The only thing was, it was on again, off again. She would dump me after I did anything really special for her for a week and then beg me to take her back. This sounds like a good relationship to you? This sounds terrible. And this is what happens. You get involved with a gal that you were the rebound guy. They're going to behave erratic like this. It was like clockwork. I used to think it was because of her depression and that she didn't believe she deserved to be happy. Who cares? Stop making excuses for her. Nowadays, I actually think she might have been cheating the whole time and just felt guilty about it when I did the nice stuff for her, but I'll never know the truth. So she's acting like an a-hole, and you start doing nice stuff for her, and that's only teaching her she can be an a-hole. I mean, really. Smack! Jesus Christ. I don't care what the reality is anymore. Time has a funny way of making stuff like that irrelevant. Well, yeah, you move on, but you gotta learn from your mistakes. Otherwise, you are going to do the same things in the future, and one way or another, get the same results. We did have one bigger break of about 5 months. When it happened, I took time off work to travel in my RV the whole time. From spring to summer, I really didn't like the town I lived in and decided to use that time to check out the rest of my province to figure out where I wanted to restart my life. She was basically the only reason I stayed for so long. I did have a decent job and family close by, but most people I met there were not good people. Lots of drug users, liars, and general scumbags. I had only a few real friends there. Well, who the hell wants to live in an area like that? And with her behaving the way she is, and you only staying there for her, and it sounds like your whole relationship up to this point was a roller coaster of drama, and you bet your ass she was cheating on you. This is what happens, guys. Like I said in the beginning, when a man makes his purpose, his girl, relationships, kids, he lets all these other things out the door because he's so, I need a relationship, I need a girlfriend. After I got back and I decided where I was going to move, she had decided she wanted me back. So whenever she wants you back, you come running. This is a terrible idea. She begged me to stay and be with her. She told me that she wanted to get serious. We started making real progress by getting married, having kids, and looking at buying a house. Smack! You can't turn a HOE into a housewife, brother. Everything was coming up. A mill house, and I couldn't be happier. So yes, you can probably guess this is when my tale becomes interesting for you and life got really bad for me. Like it wasn't bad already? My career is seasonal. I work from spring to the end of the fall and can go on unemployment insurance to find work. Sounds like he's probably in the construction work. My dad had asked if I could help him on his farm breeding horses that winter when I still planned to leave my town. I promised him that I would because it would give me a place to stay because people in my field of work would be looking for employees. This had been agreed upon before me and Callie had gotten back together. Now, I'd always been a man of my word. It's something I take great pride in. I've always hated liars. I don't mind a little embellishment to make a story sound more fun, or if two people's stories are different, as long as they both believe that's how the events happen. Everyone remembers things slightly off. She was upset that I had intended to keep my word to my dad, but I had every second weekend off. The town my dad is only a 2-hour drive. Well, 2-hour drive is a long drive. And by the way, you say you hate liars. Why the hell are you with her? But let me guess, you love her, your heart's involved, you want to get married, you want to have kids, so you're just letting all this shit slip on by because you got a timetable, you got a clock, you got to get these things done. So I told her I'd be back twice monthly for weekends and that it would only be for 4 months. For the first 2 months, everything seemed fine. During this time, I started to look at rings to pop the question and booked an expensive spa for 2 days in May to propose. Smack! She is not marriage material. There was only one weird thing that happened during the first 2 months. On one of my visits, she confided to me that her brother's wife had cheated on him and that their newborn son was most likely not his. I was shocked that she not only knew but didn't plan to tell him. She said she didn't want to tell him for fear of breaking up the family. I told her he has the right to know that she was being a bad sister by knowing and not telling him. So that tells you something. Her own brother was cheated on, and the child being born, it may not be his, and she's not going to tell him? Okay, yeah, she's afraid of breaking up the family, but come on here. Well, usually women that are cheaters like her, and she obviously is, support the other cheaters. What does that tell you? There's all these signs. Religious folks that say these are signs from God. There's all these signs from God telling him this is a bad woman to be in a relationship with, and he just ignores the Lord. So he's going to get, he'll see. I also informed her if he found out she knew and didn't say anything, that he would most likely kick her out of his life. She made me swear I wouldn't tell him. Even though I thought it was wrong, I agreed not to say anything. Even though I thought it was wrong, I did agree not to say anything. Smack! Well, then there you go, bro. Now another man out there is being cheated on, lied to, raising some other dude's kid, and How about a loyalty to the brothers? Bros before hoes. It did get me wondering how she could not only not tell him, but stay friends with someone that could do that to her brother. I think that's when I started to question her morals. You think? The third month, she asked that I didn't come out because she was sick. I told her I didn't care. I could still come out and take care of her. If you're gone all the time and she doesn't want you to come home all of a sudden, it's because she has another dude in the picture. She convinced me that she didn't want me to come over, so I just worked on the farm instead. I switched weekends so I could come out instead of the next 2 weekends. The weekend she said she was sick. Her phone was off the whole time. Oh, imagine that. Lasting into the week. She told me her phone went through the washing machine. She was actually on a bender, but I didn't learn that until later. So I head out the following weekend, and as soon as I arrive, I start getting super sketchy vibes. I was already weirded out about the stuff with her brother and ghosting me for 4 days as we talk and text multiple times a day normally. At first, she acts great to me, cooks me steak, and we go out to the bush to have a fire in the snow. At the fire, she really started drinking heavily. She then mentions a guy she's been hanging out with. Let's call him Brad. You're involved with this woman? You think she's going to be your future wife? She's hanging out with other dudes? So the alarm bells start to go off in my head. We go back to her house and she keeps drinking. I wanted to clear my head, so I only had 3 beers all evening. That's how you want to clear your head? She put her phone down and locked because of how drunk she was, and I took her to the bathroom with me to look up texts between them. And can you all guess what our guy here discovers? I felt so guilty for doing it at first, but once I saw the text between the two of them, the guilt was replaced with rage. I go to her room to confront her, and she breaks down. First, how dare I go through her phone? This never would have happened if I would have broken my promise to my dad. She's twisting around blaming it on you. You're the reason I cheated. Nothing really happens between them, blah, blah, blah. I was furious and drove off. She blows up my phone the whole time, and I don't answer. Now you'd think after all these red flags and finally this incident, he'd be done with her. That's it, it's over. Oh my God. 10 minutes after I left, her mother called me. She lives at her mom's house. I took the call and her mom said she's freaking out and has harmed herself. Then go to the emergency room. Not my problem. I decided to go back and she had a bandage wrapped around her arm. Smack! Now you taught her, aside from all the other things that she does that you always take her back, if she harms herself, here you go. Her mom hid all the sharp objects she could find. She was having a full-on panic attack and begs me not to leave. I told her I would stay if she told me the truth. Fat chance, dude. She missed a hooking up with him one time that just that last weekend when she asked me not to come out. It kind of matches the messages and I believe her. I stay there till she falls asleep. Once she does, I send Brad a text saying that she has a boyfriend with some screenshots of our conversations that me and her had that weekend. Bro, why even bother? Get out of there. It's over. Or now, every time she threatens to harm herself or does harm herself, you're going to come and running. Again, this is what happens when men make their sole purpose in life, a relationship, a girlfriend, having a wife and kids and all that. Because they rush into things. They don't make the right decisions. It's like, I got to get her married. I got to marry quick. Because I got to have kids quick. I'm getting older here. And they let shit slide. I was about to drive back to the farm when the dude called her phone. I picked up the phone and tell him I'm her boyfriend. He asked if that was a joke, and I assure him it is not. He said he didn't actually know and apologized. I tell him that I'm pissed, but if he didn't know, I couldn't blame him. Well, you know what? It is very possible this guy didn't know. A lot of women lie about them being married or boyfriends and all that. I should have asked him more questions, but I was really tired, not thinking straight, and just wanted to go back to the farm, even though it was 2 o'clock in the morning at this point. I get home and I go to bed. Turn on my ringer off the phone because I know once she wakes up, she'll start calling like crazy. Probably. After getting the horses in for the night, I decided to look at my phone for the first time all day. Around 30 missed calls and tons of texts. This one seem very stable to you guys? Girlfriend material, wife material? I think not. I decided I need another day before I talk to her. Now, while the whole day, all I can think about is it was just one time. She seems to be genuinely remorseful about it. How? I'm 39 and really want children before I get too old. Right there. Right there. I'm 39, I really want kids. So he's going to keep letting shit slide just so he invested so much time into her, and, she has some good qualities. I can't stress enough, this is what happens when a guy, I know you're like, SSM, shut the fuck up, we get the point. No, I really have to hit home about this. Your purpose, guys, should not be relationships and girls and putting a girl on the pedestal and her being the source of all your happiness and wanting, you can want a marriage and kids, but it's not going to be your sole reason for existing. It's a terrible idea. I took a call from her the next day on Sunday in the morning. She was still wasted. She hadn't stopped drinking since I was there Friday. Oh, great. We talk and I tell her that I'm really upset, but I'm willing to give us another chance. Smack, smack, smack. At this point, you deserve everything that comes your way, man. She has shown you repeatedly who she is. Liar, drama, breaking up with you, cheating on you. Obviously, she was cheating on you long before, and you're still taking her back. You're out of your mind. Why? Because I want kids. I'm 39. I'm getting older. This is why so many guys are happy with their dog, their cats, alone, living their life. They don't need to have a woman to complete them, like some Jerry Maguire bullshit. Remember that movie back long time ago, actually? You always saw that line, "You complete me," that horse shit. Please. This guy's a glutton for punishment. I still was in love with her and wanted to have kids. Get married and buy a house with her. Uh-huh. What do you think she's going to do to those kids if she's that manic and nuts? It was a dream I felt I worked so hard for. She was so happy. I took her back and she swore to me nothing like this would ever happen again. Basically, I was a fool. Yeah, you were a fool. So I decided on my next set of days off to borrow my stepdad's summer home on the river so we can have a place to ourselves. I grabbed food that she loves so I can cook her dinner and try to make it very romantic. I want to rekindle my love with her, so I wanted to go all out on an amazing weekend. What is she doing for you? What amazing things is she doing to prove her love for you that she's sorry? Nothing. She's cheating on you, treating you like crap, putting you through hell, and all you do is just keep rewarding her with more shit, vacations and spas and making romantic this, and this. She has your number. She knows she can do anything, and you're dumb enough to take her back. So I go to pick her up, and she's already a little drunk. And also she's a drunk. Oh, great. I kind of wanted to hang sober, but I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up with her, so don't say anything thinking we can do a sober day when I take her out to go shopping and dinner that next day. Notice he said there, I don't want to mess things up with her. In other words, I need to appease her. I got to walk on eggshells around her because I want to make her mad. Dude, get some fucking balls. Women don't respect weak-ass bitch guys. This is why she's treating you like this. And the guys she's probably fucking don't behave like this. When we get there, she gets hammered. Why the fuck do you want to be a drunk? Kelly had brought a big bottle of Fireball on top of a bunch of White Claws. Fireball, huh? Oh boy. I again didn't really drink that night. Once she was drunk, I tried to carry her to bed. As Callie is in my arms, she looks up at me and says in slurred words, "I don't know why you even felt threatened by Joe." I ask, "What did you just say?" "I don't know why you even felt threatened by Brad," she replied. I put her down to bed and my mind starts racing. Joe, Brad, wasn't the guy he talked to Brad? So who the fuck is Joe? Now her ex before me has a really close name to the one she said first, but I also know she's a friend named Joe. I only met a couple times. They were not close or even hung out, but were more like acquaintances. I go into her purse to look at her phone again, but the battery is dead, and I can't find her charger. I have an iPhone, so I can't charge it to look. I didn't sleep that well that night and everything going on in my head. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to being very loud on the phone. to her being very loud on the phone. I went out to the living room and she had drunk all the booze left over from the night before. Man, she is a classy gal. She is a piece of garbage. I have zero tolerance, patience, or acceptance for drunks. I mean, you can count on one hand the amount of drinks I've had probably the last 6 months. You know, if you enjoy a drink here and then, that's fine. But there's a difference between drinks and being a drunk. And you're going to find this girl alcohol isn't her only substance abuse here. This guy's a fucking moron. Obviously, he seems like he's learned his lesson as he's telling this story from the past, but guys are just idiots. It's amazing. I ask her who she's on the phone with, and she tells me an Uber to leave. I ask her why she's going to... Last time I checked, you book Uber 3. You're not calling somebody. I ask why she's going to leave. Callie tells me she's upset that I tried to get into her phone. Oh, it's your fault. Wasn't she trashed and passed out? Guess I didn't put it back in her purse. Must have been out of sorts and I forgot. I tell her I can drive her once I go to the washroom and get some clothes on. I go do that and come out and the washroom and see Callie has already left. She was so drunk that she left her stuff behind. I decided to have breakfast before bringing her stuff to her house. After breakfast, I packed her stuff into my SUV and noticed it had snowed that night. I could see footprints out into the driveway. While dropping off her stuff, I noticed there was no footprints leading to her house. So I tried calling Callie. No answer. I let her stuff in the snow and decided to drive her brother's and sister's house to see if there were footprints going into any of their houses, but there were none. I sent her a nasty text about knowing she didn't go home, to go be with Brad or Joe or whoever, and never call me again. She's probably like, yeah, right, this jackass will take me back after all a little waterworks or saying I hurt myself. It was a lot more profane than that, but it was just the gist of it. I cleaned up the house, my stepdad let me, and back off to the farm yet again. The next day, she blows up my phone again, and I wait another day to talk to her. She tells me she went home, but I know that can't be true from the snow. But she says I must have been mistaken. See? Rinse, recycle, repeat with this girl. This is usually how these abusive relationships are. She apologizes for getting drunk and leaving, and that she's going to stop drinking after her birthday in 2 weeks. Then why don't you stop drinking now? And by the way, yeah, right, you're going to stop drinking. She has rented a hotel in the town, and I'm in for her birthday and wants to spend it with me. I agree just because I have to know the truth and want to look at her phone to make sure I'm not crazy. Don't you think she's going to have some security on her phone at this point? She had gaslit me to the point I was questioning what I saw with my own eyes. Yes, women are very good at that. But also, your actions have proved to be that you are behaving like a moron. All because you want a family and kids. A couple days later, I decided to send Joe a message on Facebook to see if he would give me the truth. I got a text from him telling me not to bug her friend, and she is embarrassed. I apologize and tell her I'm excited about her birthday soon. The weekend of her birthday comes, so I go to meet her at the hotel. She brought her sister and other friend along. It actually is a really fun time. The girls did coke the first night into the second evening. Now she does coke. What the fuck is the matter with you? I mean, there's a thing, you know, how do you know a junkie's lying? Their lips are moving. Alcoholic, raging alcoholic. Now she's doing drugs and all this other stuff. And you want to marry her? She's going to be a good wife and mother? Really? I didn't really like it, but I figure she can let loose, especially if she's going to stop drinking after her birthday. Oh, okay. Good thinking. I also knew by Saturday night that they would crash so hard, it would give me time to look at her phone so I could know the truth. As I mentioned, the weekend was really fun, so I felt bad about going into her phone yet again. Smack! What? How much proof do you need to end it with her? I mean, you gotta always take her back. I did anyway. My whole world came crashing down. And I figured that I would see Brad or Joe texts and Facebook messages. Seems like Brad was done, but Joe and her were totally hooking up. I also found that she slept with 3 other guys. I also saw she was using coke all the time now. Shocker. She did it maybe 3 times a year when we dated, but now it was every weekend. So you knew while you're dating her that she was doing coke every now and again, to your knowledge, the quantity of times. It looked like she started using regularly right before I left for the farm. Well, I'm going to guess coke is expensive, and I don't mean Coca-Cola. And so where's all that money coming from? And this is someone you want to marry and have kids with? Joe helped get it for her too. Out of all the guys, he was the one she hung out with the most. Yeah, the drug dealer. Yeah, she'll do anything to him what she wants. And he's probably the exact opposite of you. It turns out that he was a meth head who was trying to quit for her. She also went to his house the morning she left the other weekend to hook up and buy coke. I was floored. You were floored? None of us are here floored. I just stared and took screenshots till the early morning. I decided I wasn't going to dump her, but I wanted to ruin her life, not realizing she was already doing that by herself, but hindsight is 2020. Yeah, you want revenge, but just leave her as is. She's ruining her own life. So I started coming with a plan of what I was going to do. I have a better idea. Just leave. Block her everywhere, move on with your life. That's the best revenge. And learn from your mistakes. I woke up the next morning and acted like everything was fine and went back to the farm. I was still so upset and didn't want to harm myself or others, so had a family friend take my firearms for a while. I don't think I would have used them on myself or others, but I would certainly hope you wouldn't use it on yourself or especially others. What the fuck? But I knew I wasn't thinking clearly and didn't want them in the house when I was like that. All this over a freaking chick who has proved time and time again to be garbage. I mean, has this guy never had anyone pay attention to him up until he's 30 years old? And let's be honest, she was probably paying attention to what she could get from him. My God, this is why I do what I do, guys, to share these stories and encourage guys to do everything they can to better themselves. Because when you better yourselves and you're feeling good about yourself, you're not going to tolerate people like this in your life. But when you think you're garbage, you got nothing going for you, ay. Stay with me, guys. I didn't have to see her until I moved back because the next set I had off, I had tickets for a concert in the city I used to live in. During that time, all I thought about was how I was going to do something to ruin her life. Newsflash, she's ruining her own life. I came up with some small things. My main plan was to pretend like we were fine and ghost her when my contract was up with my boss next winter. You're going to stay with her all this time just to get even with her? That's the dumbest fucking thing ever. I promised him another year after Kelly and I had gotten back together. Just typing that makes me look back and cringe why I was so crazy. Yeah. When I went to the city for the concert, I told my best friend, my brother, and a few others my plan. No one liked it and thought I should just go no contact, cut her straight out of my life. Thank you. All of them say what I'm saying here. That probably was the smart thing to do, but emotion was clouding my judgment. Yeah. Because you're all about your emotions. That's all feminine energy. Like at the beginning when I said that he's making his whole point in his life to get married, have kids. That's feminine energy. Rational comments, rational thinking, calm, cool. That's on the more masculine side of things. I'm not saying women can't be relaxed and think calm and cool, but the natural essence is emotion. Let the emotions run everything. He is letting his emotions run everything, like a damn woman. And look what it's doing to him. It was probably a smart thing to do, blah, blah, blah. Also, he would all get this story. They even informed me that because I'd be lying to her, that I'd be compromising my morals and turning into a worse person they didn't recognize. I didn't care or see it that way or care. I have a hard time recalling what my brain was thinking during that time because you're running on pure emotion like a woman. All seems like a haze now, and it's been a year. I think I was really upset that my dream and all I had for work was ruined. A friend later said that I may have been in love with the dream and not her. Maybe that's the reason I kept up with all society. Yes. So my time in the farm had come to an end, and I was moving back to the town of which my ex lived in. I was all set with my plan, excited to implement it and have what I considered just. But you know what they say about best laid out plans. My ex wanted to go hang out at her brother's as a welcome home party. I went, but ended up drinking, heavily drinking, to the point of blacking out. I don't remember much about that night, but I have had it recounted for me. I woke up in the drunk tank. I get that you're miserable and unhappy and all that, but getting trashed, in your emotional state, not going to go well. Guess I couldn't lie and play cool, huh? The story I was told later was that while I was at her brother's, I'd gotten drunk and loud, kept waking up the new baby, and we were asked to leave. So we caught a cab, and I confronted her in the cab, but all I could do was call her lying, cheating, W-H-O-R-E on repeat. So much for being calm and cool and collected. As a man, you're acting like an emotional woman. You're just like her. You're like two chicks in a relationship. She got upset and ran to the house and locked me out. I had a bunch of stuff at her house, so I went to the door and demanded she let me in. She's an a-hole, but like she's gonna let you in that state. All the while, she's only referring to her as the aforementioned 3 words. She told me to leave, but my jacket and wallet were inside. It was below freezing at night still, and probably wouldn't have made it home in the state I was in. I then kicked in the door to keep calling her LCW and grabbed my stuff. She was on the phone with the police, so I was taken away by them. You freaking moron. Breaking into the house drunk. It doesn't make a difference. All the stuff she's done before, now you have a police record. I mean, good God. One of the lowest points in my life, you think? It still brings me to so much shame to this day, but it's what happened. I'm no longer going to sugarcoat it. I never laid a finger on her, and I'm so happy that I hadn't. Laying hands on women is in that way is one of the scummiest things a man can do. I had to go back to her house once they let me out because my stuff was still there. I apologized to her mom, who'd been her boyfriends that evening, promising to repair the door for her. Callie begged me to talk to her, and like an idiot, I just didn't leave. Smack! God, I mean, I could have smacked him 1,000 times, but I'm not in the mood to do it today. I told her I saw everything, and she only admitted to Brad and Joe, lying about them and the others the whole time. Even when I brought up the screenshots, she still couldn't come clean. I left just shaking my head. There's still a ton to the story, but this is long enough. Yes, it is. I could do a part 2 if there's any interest, catching you folks up on where I am now and the messed up things that have happened in between. Well, bro, that is obviously the end of part 1, guys, and we're going to have part 2 later on when he writes it, and I am pretty sure he will, because I do want to hear what happened and how he then cleaned himself up and got his life back together. So there you go, guys. You know, I'm sorry for any guy who goes through hell, but there's a point where a guy just brings it on himself. It's like the emotions get so involved that they just allow garbage into their lives and being mistreated, and there's a point that you can't feel bad for him anymore. I'm glad he's telling this story because this happened in the past, and he's moving on and learned a lot. At least I hope he's learned a lot of things. But there you go, guys. This is what happens when you make a girl the whole center of your universe, and want to make it that so important that above everything else, she is that important. And getting married and having kids, all that stuff, feminine energy. Right there. And look how emotional he is. She is an alcoholic. She uses drugs. She's a cheater. She's a liar. A never-ending drama. I mean, God almighty. But guys just have to suffer so much before they learn the lesson. So, lots to learn in this story, guys. As many of you are well aware that watch me. But, you know, this is like you listen to one of my videos every day, or most days, guys. It's going to keep you sharp. It really will, as to reality out there, because she's an a-hole. She's a total a-hole, piece of garbage. Believe me, if she left this world, believe me, it would be a better place, but then there'd be another asshole to replace her. But this guy did not help himself, not one bit. And he eventually deserved what he got, in my opinion. Really. There's a point that a guy deserves that if he's not going. It's just like how I'm not going to feel bad for a woman who repeatedly gets involved with guys that are awful to her and do awful things, you know, and especially if it's the same guy, you know. The first time, of course, you can be young and dumb and not know any better, but if a gal keeps repeatedly going for the same type of guy and keeps treating them that way, very, very bad things, I don't need to elaborate here, and still keeps going to that guy, that type of guy, or the same guy over and over again, there's a point you don't feel bad for her anymore, and I don't. It's just like the same with this guy, or any guy in this matter. So lots to learn here. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know. Have you ever been this guy? Or known guys like this? Do they ever learn? They ever turn shit around? It's a good question. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.